They had scrubbed us. Every record, every mention, every data fragment that hinted at the existence of humanity had been purged from galactic archives. Our homeworld was reclassified as a dead rock. Our name, our languages, our culture, deleted with surgical precision, like we had never existed. And for a time, we didn't. Earth burned. Our colonies went dark. Silence swallowed the Terran diaspora, and the galaxy breathed easier, believing the fire had gone out. They thought they had won. But fire doesn't die in darkness. It waits. The erasure, as we would later call it, wasn't a war. Wars are loud, documented, remembered. The erasure was a surgical campaign waged in shadows by the Zenith Accord, a coalition of ancient species that saw us as a threat not for our numbers, or weapons, or reach, but for our nature. We adapted too quickly, learned too much, dared too far. Where other species hesitated, humans acted. Where others compromised, we endured. We loved hard, and when wronged, we didn't forgive. The Zenith feared what we could become. So they struck first, and when it was done, they made sure no one would remember we ever lived. But the fire hadn't gone out. Deep in the Oort remains of a shattered colony world, the descendants of survivors built in secret, scattered on rogue planets, hollowed moons, drifting relic fleets. We endured. What they didn't understand was that humanity didn't need records to exist. We carried Earth in our bones. We sang songs no one else remembered. We taught our children the names of constellations that no longer had meaning in galactic charts. And we prepared. 3 centuries after the erasure, the Zenith Accord celebrated the 5th cycle of Unity on Havex Prime, their jewel capital, a city of crystal towers and anti-grav bridges woven between the roots of a floating forest. The Accord's high speaker, Vurintel, addressed the gathered dignitaries beneath banners celebrating the triumph of order over chaos. No one noticed the dark speck breaching orbit until it had already passed the defense grid. It wasn't large, just a single human corvette, sleek, scorched, ancient in design. It didn't fire. It didn't broadcast a message. It landed silently on the central platform of the Unity Spire. Panic rippled through the assembly. Guards raised weapons. Diplomats ran for cover. The hull hissed open, steam curling like breath from a sleeping beast. And from that ship, one human walked out. He was tall, face hidden by a black helm inscribed with words no translator could decode. He wore a long coat stitched from void silk and burned metal, charred in places like it had walked through hell. On his back, something that looked like a spear fuse or a railgun, wrapped in braided chains that hummed with unreadable energy. The guards aimed. The human didn't flinch. A voice spoke, cold, precise, amplified through some archaic Vox unit built into his helm. Designate. Earthborn. Mission retrieval. The guards opened fire. Light ripped through the plaza, but the shots never reached him. A shimmer of heat bent the beams, dissipated them midair. And then the fire came. Not literal fire, though that would come later. This was fire of motion, a violence honed by centuries of exile. The human moved like a living storm. Guards fell in silence, their bodies crumpling with surgical precision. He didn't kill unless forced. But when he did, it was final. Vurintel ordered a planetary lockdown. The Accord's elite squads were deployed. And still, the human walked forward, each step a blow to the illusion of control the Accord had wrapped around itself. They didn't understand what they were seeing. To them, humanity was a forgotten ghost, a deleted variable. But the ghost bled flame, and it wasn't alone. Across the galaxy, dormant systems flickered to life. In forgotten nebulae and asteroid husks, hidden human ships, sleek, black, angular, emerged. They didn't conquer. They reclaimed. Stations thought abandoned activated ancient beacons. Messages in dead Terran code broadcast. We remember. Pirate bands that had unknowingly settled on old human outposts were overrun by shadows that moved without sound. Human agents, descendants of exiles, descendants of wrath, began to reveal themselves in courtrooms, under marketplaces, beside galactic senators. Not all humans had hidden. Some had embedded. Within weeks, the Accord's outer systems began to fracture, not through war, through collapse. Their economy relied on computational substrata originally derived from human AI cores. Quietly, for years, embedded agents had fed code right into the architecture. And now, with one signal, it all degraded. Lights went out. Logistics froze. Defense grids failed to target. And over every major broadcast channel in the galaxy, a message played. No intro, no title, just a woman, scarred and steady-eyed, sitting before a flickering flame. I am Commander Arya Noctis of the Earthborn Flame. We were erased. We were hunted. We survived. And now we remember. We do not seek conquest. We seek truth and justice for what was done to us, to our worlds. You may forget our names, but you will never forget our fire. The message ended. No demands, no threats, just a statement. The galaxy responded with fear, with awe, with confusion. Minor species who had never known humans whispered ancient myths passed through pirates and traders. They called them the Firewalkers, the Revenants, the Children of Wrath. Some called them saviors, others nightmares. The Accord tried retaliation. A fleet of cruisers was dispatched to intercept a rumored human sanctuary in the Hollow Maw cluster. None returned. Surveillance satellites showed only molten wreckage and a single phrase scrawled into the side of a derelict. You cannot kill what you already buried. Over the next year, the galaxy shifted. Worlds previously loyal to the Accord began to declare neutrality. Some allied openly with Earthborn emissaries. A handful of frontier species offered tribute, not from fear, but in gratitude. On dozens of planets, the Accord's monuments were pulled down, and in their place, fire pits were built. At night, stories were told of the species that had come back from oblivion, not with vengeance, but with clarity. Not all humans wanted peace. Of course, in the shadow of rebirth, there were those who carried only rage. Rogue fleets emerged, calling themselves Ashen Sons, seeking to burn what had once tried to erase them. Earthborn Command hunted them too, because what the galaxy didn't understand was that humanity's return wasn't just to reclaim land or revenge. It was to reclaim meaning. On Havx Prime, where it had all begun, the Unity Spire stood in ruin. Vurintel remained in a prison cell beneath the ashes, visited once a year by a human envoy who asked the same question. Why did you erase us? The first year, Vurintel refused to speak. The second year, he screamed. The third, he whispered the truth. Because we feared that if you remained, we would be forgotten. The envoy, a young woman with storm-gray eyes, simply nodded. Then you understood us better than you knew. But you made one mistake. Fire doesn't fade in darkness. It grows. By the 10th year, humans had no capital, no central throne. They didn't want one. Instead, they had what the galaxy called flame circles, gatherings where decisions were made in open voice. Their fleets moved by consensus. Their tech shared freely to those who had once sheltered their exiles. They became myth and reality in equal measure. Firebringers, memory keepers, and every cycle, on the anniversary of the erasure, human ships lit signal fires across the stars, great orbital flares that cast light across the void, not as a threat, but as a reminder. We were erased. We returned. We remember. We endure.